And he's the rising star of the GOP. He's been talked about for vice president. Cuban-American Florida Senator Marco Rubio has described himself as the son of exiles, but a Washington Post report reveals he may have exaggerated. Documents show, in fact, his parents came to the U.S. from Cuba 2 years before Castro took power. Rubio confirmed his parents came to this country in 1956, but said, quote, "I'm going off the oral history of my family. All of these documents and passports are not things I carry around with me." And joining me now, Jose Diaz-Balart, anchor for Noticiero Telemundo, and Dana Milbank, opinion writer for The Washington Post. So, Jose, does this hurt him or could it be an honest mistake?
This is a fascinating story, and I'm often fascinated to see how different segments of our communities analyze stories like this. Chris, you're Hungarian, Slovakian background. Let me ask you a question. When did your ancestors arrive to the United States from Hungary or Slovakia? Give me a month, day, and year.
March of 1906. I just looked at the papers that my sister got from Ellis Island, so I cheated.
All right, well, that's good, because if you ask 90%
that, on my father's
of them,
side, 1898.
Okay, well, that's great, because you know more about your ancestors' arrival to the United States than most U.S.-born people of parents or grandparents that came from another country. The fact of the matter is, it's fascinating to see this, because from the Latino community's perspective, the reaction is, you know, Marco Rubio has, for many in our community, controversial positions on immigration reform, on the DREAM Act, etc. And yet, we're focused on something that for most immigrants is a reality, which is that we get our information about our parents' backgrounds and when they arrived and how they got here.
You don't think they'd remember if they were before or after
to
Castro?
Them, not from checking their papers.
Okay, let me play.
Well, according to him, and again, go ahead.
Let me play his 2012 campaign ad.
I'm Marco Rubio, and as the son of exiles, I understand what it means to lose your country.
Okay, that was 2010, obviously. So, Dana, are people going to remember this when it comes time to pick?
Chris, this is perfect.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Chris,
before I get Chris, you know what? He is a son of exiles because they went back to Cuba and left after the Castro regime was in power.
This is what he ran on, Dana. Isn't that the point?
Yeah, I don't, it may be one thing how it plays in the Latino community, but this is the fundamental narrative of this man's political rise and why he is so attractive as a politician and why he's very seriously mentioned as a possible, if not likely, vice presidential nominee. You saw what happened to Al Gore when people jumped on him about exaggerations in his past. Now, it doesn't mean he was lying about his parents' background. Maybe his parents were lying to him. Maybe the whole thing's just a misunderstanding. That doesn't really matter. What's happened is the fundamental narrative of this man has now been turned upside down.
So, Dana, you're equating I invented the Internet with someone who is the son of exiles or immigrants not knowing by checking los papeles of his parents what day they arrived.
I will tell you this, and you know, it's a weird comparison because we don't have many Hungarians who are watching. But people know who immigrated pre- and post-1956. That was the critical year in Hungary.
That's right.
And Castro, pre- and post-Castro, exactly right. Jose, this is not like some random year. Do you know when your grandparents came over, your parents came over? This was a defining moment in Cuban history.
They didn't leave because of the Castro revolution. Castro was in Mexico. Castro was in Mexico at the time. They left because they were ordinary immigrants. It's a fundamentally different story. It doesn't mean it's a bad story. It means he's much more like most Latino immigrants to the United States whose families came for economic reasons.
Okay. I'm really glad that we're bringing up the fact that before 1959 there was not a wave of Cubans trying to leave the island, even though there was a dictatorship in place, and that's a wonderful conversation to have another day. But let me tell you something. If your parents tell you that they left Cuba permanently because of a dictatorship, that's what you're going to go on. Now, whether they went back, stayed for 2 months, and then decided once they saw the reality, after they had immigrated to the United States, because before Castro you could do that, go both ways. they realized that they didn't want to stay, that would make you an exile. I'm not saying that it's good to not know the facts of when exactly your parents arrived if you're going to base your political campaigns on it. I'm just telling you that for many immigrants, that's not as big of an issue as, for example, the fact that he is against immigration reform, that he is against the DREAM Act, and all these other issues that not a lot of times we bring up in English language media.
Yeah, but I guess I'll go back to the point. He's not somebody sitting around a dinner table, having a conversation. I guess, Dana, he's somebody who's running for high office. He was running for U.S. Senate, and, many people talking to him about being vice president of the United States on this ticket.
And I think it can be justified and explained as it just was. There may be no malice at all or anything wrong with what he's presented. To go back to the Al Gore comparison, he could explain when his suggestion that he had helped to create the internet. He could explain that he helped to inspire the story, love story. But it became a part of Gore's character to say he had these embellishments. I just think, as a matter of politics, when you have this fundamental narrative undermined in this way, that it's going to come back and haunt him. I'm not quarreling about whether he should have asked his parents this. I'm just saying, when it comes out this way, this is something that's going to haunt him for a while.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. He is still definitely a rising star in the Republican Party. Jose Diaz-Balart, thank you so much. You're a good sport. Dana Milbank, always good to have you on.
Thanks.